Welcome to the show that takes up no more than 5 minutes of your time, but could help you gain massive real estate knowledge. It's 5 Minutes in Real Estate with best-selling author Shane Willis.
Hello, it's Shane Willis, Pensacola real estate expert, bringing you today's episode. Happy Wednesday. Hope everybody had a good one. We got all kinds of stuff going on. Phone's blowing up. I got a couple of webinars that I'm finishing doing today. We'll get those recorded. I'll actually let you guys know how to get a hold of those because we'll do replays. They're booked. I put a 50-person limit on these when I do them, and these guys are already booked. So, but I will give a replay, and if you are listening to this here podcast, I'll make sure I get you a link so that you can go over and listen to the replay. It'll be limited. I won't replay that with probably a couple of days, maybe a week, and that'll be it. But those are good. I got one going for buyers. I got one going for sellers. Today's podcast, we're actually going to talk to sellers because I've had this conversation about 3 times in the last 48 hours. So I thought, this will be pretty good. I'm actually today. We're putting up a blog post. And so you might want to get over there, shanewillis.com/blogs. And the blog post says 7 home maintenance tasks sellers must do before listing. So these are just some small maintenance stuff. And it's not big things. It's just small stuff. But it's stuff that makes a huge, huge difference when you're showing the property. Now today's podcast, I'm going to talk to you about 4 things that we need to address before we even think about listing. Okay? This is some stuff that when I walk through a property, when I'm looking at it, this is one of the things I'm looking at. Sounds like some lawn equipment's going on this morning. So we may turn around and walk the other way. Woo! Sorry. I hope that didn't blow out your ears. Thank you. And someone says, bless you. I love my neighborhood. Anyways, today we're going to talk about 4 things that we need to make sure we look through. And you could actually do this before you and I even talk. Because this is one of the things that I'm going to help you do if we have talked before. So what are the 4 items that I want you to kind of look at? First, extension cords. If there are extension cords everywhere, we may want to have an electrician find out if we can update the electrical. That shows the possibility, even if it doesn't exist, there's a buyer perception. And remember, I talk a lot about buyer psychology when I talk to my sellers. There's a buyer perception that something's wrong, that we need to update the electrical, and it's going to cost $10,000 to do so. And that's not. So if you have a lot of extension cords places, let's take a look at that and figure out why. And it may be just as simple as hiring an electrician, paying $250 to, have 2 more electrical outlets wired up. Even if that costs $400 or $500, that's a heck of a lot more than the buyers thinking the whole system is out. So take a look around, see if you have a whole lot of electrical extension cords. Your low water pressure or gurgling or drips. If that's on any of your faucets, if there's anything dripping just out of the seal, or if there's gurgling, or if there's low water pressure, we need to have a plumber take a look at it. We just do. This is something, again, that will kill you as a seller. Because if I'm representing the buyer, I'm going to blow that out of proportion. If I'm not representing the seller and I'm representing the buyer, I'm going to blow that needs to be done, and it's going to cost thousands of dollars to do it. So we need to offer a little less, or we need to ask for all of that to be done by my plumber, who's probably going to be more expensive. So when I flip to the other side of the table and I'm representing the seller, well, that's what I do. I say, listen, let's address this now because it probably will only cost us a few $100, but let's figure out why. So low water pressure, gurgling, or drips, if we need to replace some faucets, stuff like that, this can save us thousands in the long run. Musty smells. Where's the musty smell? There's a big M word. It's a 4-letter word that scares everybody here in Florida. And it's called mold. It's not called must, it's called mold. A lot of the times, what we're smelling is mildew. It's not necessarily mold. But that smell in and of itself will throw people off. I mean, I literally had a brand new kitchen done on one of my rehab projects. It's a brand new kitchen. There's nothing wrong. brand new cabinets. But one of them had a weird smell to it. Immediately, one of the feedback says, yeah, buyer really liked the property, but he thinks he smelled mold in the cabinet, so we're not interested. That was it. I'm like, it's brand new cabinets. How the hell do you smell mold in the cabinets? But if there's even that scent, and you may want to find somebody that's, not been to your house in a while, have them walk through, like a mold detector or something. See if there's a unique smell. And you're not just going to want to cover it up with, candles and some of the old school stuff where, hey, if you have a showing 20 minutes prior to it, make a bunch of cookies and, that just covers it up. Everybody kind of sees past that now. Okay, instead, let's really find out what the issue is. If there's a musty smell somewhere, why? All right, is there some water intrusion somewhere we need to address? And that kind of leads me into my fourth one for the day, and that's if there's any stains on the walls or ceiling. Huge problems. Huge problems. Even if the stain, I see a lot of stains now that were there from Hurricane Ivan. So there was something happened to the roof during Hurricane Ivan, back in 2004, so 14 years ago. Okay? Something happened to the roof. Okay. There was a leak there. We got a brand new roof, so what's the problem? The stain's still there. And with the stain on the ceiling still there, they're worried that there's an additional leak. The first thing we need to do is make sure there's not an additional leak. So we may want to get up in the attic, check that out, or have someone check it out for us. But if there's not, and it is really just a stain, we need to paint ceiling. We need to paint ceiling, make sure that stain doesn't come through the paint. So we need to get a good paint. That's only going to cost you a couple $100. Maybe, may even be $100. But that's a huge perception. If you see a stain on the wall or the ceiling, especially in this area, you're automatically thinking the roof's a problem. I could add the roof as a fifth one. Let's take a look at it because the roof and air conditioner are two really big deals. But you'll see some of that in my blog post as I posted it. So I just wanted to kind of concentrate on these four for now. Those are four things that you really want to, it should not cost you a whole lot of money to get all those done. Unless you have to do all four and there's problems with each one of them. But then we need to talk because we don't want to hide it. We want to identify it. I have a listing right now. They know they didn't do some of the quality of life upgrades yet. And they price it accordingly. So when we listed it, we actually said, hey, this property should be worth about $225,000 with all the quality of life upgrades. We did not have time for that. She lost her husband, and she had to move back with family because her father's like 102 or something. So she had to head back to the east. So she did not have a chance to do all this before she left. So instead of $225,000, she's just asking $200,000. And even that, people were like, well, I want lower than what she's asking. Yeah, okay. So even that, I told her we need to be prepared for even lower offers than that. But we knocked off $25,000 just for all that stuff. So stuff that could have cost us $10,000 to fix, we're having to knock off $25,000 for in the listing. But that's a time thing. That's a time thing more than anything else. So not that big a deal. But it is a huge, huge number. So I guess it is kind of a big deal. Anyways, I hope those four help you. Make sure you check out the blog too, ShaneWillis.com/blog. And look for the one that says 7 home maintenance tasks sellers must do before listing. Because this is a good little checklist, at least to start. These are things that we need to do before we even come on the market. This is why I said it takes a little bit of time from the time that we get started to when you actually hit the market. So when you see these things sold in 2 days or 48 hours, or I guess that's the same thing, isn't it, Shane? Yeah, I need some more coffee this morning. Whatever it is, make sure that you realize that that's post the 2 weeks or 3 weeks it takes to run through this checklist, get things looked at, yada, yada, yada. All right? So, that's all I got for you today. As always, if you have not subscribed to get the tips, tricks, graphs, infographics, all these lists, I'm actually going to mail out the blog post today to the list as well as the podcast. Get over to 5minutesinrealestate.com. That's 5minutesinrealestate.com. Also, if you've not subscribed to hear the podcast when it comes out, go to your player of choice. We're on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube. I even have a YouTube thing that does whatever. Just subscribe to wherever you like to listen to these so you get notified when we have an updated one. And finally, if you found value in this blog post, in this podcast, or any other episode, I don't ask for any money for these things. I do, however, ask that you share it on social media. Have a great Wednesday.